What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today it's the Game Week 8 preview. So this is where I go through your key questions and topics that you've got to me on social media. So this week we're going through the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, potentially injured, Aubameyang and Vardy, both looking really good, and people kind of looking to bring them in now, Captaincy, as well as a few other bits as well. So if this is the kind of content that you enjoy, make sure to give it a like, subscribe for plenty more during this season, and let's jump into it. So we'll start off with Kevin De Bruyne, and probably the biggest news that we've got this week so far. I'm recording this on Tuesday evening, so you'll get to watch this from Wednesday onwards. So perhaps we'll get more news from after the Man City match if Pep Guardiola gets asked about him. But what we do know is he's got a groin injury, and City have basically said how quickly he can get back will depend on his rehabilitation. Now, that doesn't really help us. Does that rehab let him get back for Game Week 8? Will he miss the international break? Will he miss even longer? We just don't know. My gut feeling is we'll get more info from Pep. If not tonight, we'll get it in the kind of press conferences before the league game, either on Thursday or Friday. So that one might give us a better indication of exactly what to do. But based on the info we got now, I can't imagine that he will play in Game Week 8. If he's got this groin injury, he's missing the Champions League game, why would they rush him back for Wolves at home? Yes, he's an integral part of that team. They've been super creative this year because of him. They scored loads and loads of goals because of him. They scored loads of goals last year without him, and of course Pep's going to put him in the team more often than not, and he's going to start the majority of games. But for one game, Wolves at home, to maybe give him that break and then give him the international break to get fully fit, you'd imagine that whatever the status is for him, that's going to happen. They can beat Wolves without him. They've got Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, etc. that can all play and create chances as well. So I'm already kind of setting myself up for the fact that he's probably going to miss Game Week 8. Now, will it be further than that? We don't know. So press conference could tell us a bit more. Now, whether you should sell him or not, obviously a lot of people considering that. I think the price paid, or the price you've paid, does come into it a bit. Obviously, if you paid 9.5 million, got him in early, then he has risen to 10 million. So you could sell him for 9.7, and it'll cost you 0.3 million more to buy him back, which you would probably want to do given how good he's been this season, how consistent he's been, which isn't too much money, 0.3 million. And obviously, if he does drop in price, which is fairly likely, we'll have to see what happens over the international break. We've seen the likes of Martial not drop very quickly, so maybe De Bruyne will be the same. Even if you drop 0.1 or 0.2 million, you're only paying a tiny bit then to get him back. So should you sell him, that's obviously only a decision you can make. I bought him for 9.9 million, so it's a bit of an easier decision for me. If he's out for longer than Game Week 8, so if he's going to miss maybe Game Week 9, Game Week 10, then I'll definitely move him on. If it's just this week, and Pep says that, he'll be fine after the international break, it gets a bit tougher because you know you're going to want him, but it's also £10 million sat on your bench. So for 1 week, if you've got a decent bench to cover it, then I would maybe consider playing that. I'm thinking about getting rid of him for the likes of Son. He's got Brighton away and then Watford at home in Game Week 9. And that's one of the best fixtures in Game Week 9 for captaincy. So if you're not worried about him maybe getting a little bit rotated following the international break, Son that is, then you could look at maybe going over him. There's other City mids to consider as well. Obviously, Mahrez has been doing really well, played brilliantly against Everton. Bernardo Silva, David Silva, all these players. But for me, that's quite a short-term move because I know that I'd be worried about them going forward, how many minutes they're going to get. We know Pep is going to rotate his team, but Sterling, Aguero, De Bruyne, you expect them to play most matches, whereas the likes of Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, potentially going to get rotated a bit more. So maybe if you were making like a 1 week punt and then wildcarding to get rid at some point, so one or 2 week punt and then wildcarding to get rid. And obviously, if Pep says that De Bruyne is out for a long time, then you know those midfielders are going to play more. Maybe that's Mahrez' chance to kind of put his mark on the team, but you could do him for like 1 or 2 games and then maybe wildcard them back in. So it depends on your personal situation. For me, I don't think it's a rush to sell him. Let's get some more news. If it's just 1 game week, then I'd probably look at keeping him. If it's any more than that, because of the amount of money he is, I'll look to move him on. Taking a look at Aubameyang and Vardy next. A lot of people are looking at bringing them in, probably for good reason. Aubameyang's not blanked at all this season yet. He's scored in every single game apart from 1 against Liverpool, but he did get an assist in that game, so he's done decently enough. And Vardy also 5 goals in 7 games, and obviously just scored 2, which is why he's kind of at the top of people's minds, even though that was against Newcastle down to 10 men. But he's still obviously doing well. I think since Brendan Rodgers took over, he's one of the highest goal scorers in the league. So always good for returns, very consistent, has been pretty much since he started playing for Leicester in the league or in the Premier League. So definitely a good pick. If we look at kind of fixtures-wise, which is why a lot of people are bringing them in, Aubameyang, Bournemouth at home, Sheffield United away, which maybe isn't quite as easy as it looks. Obviously, Liverpool struggled to score against them. Palace at home, Wolves at home. So 3 home games in the next 4. Leicester away, Southampton at home, Norwich away, Brighton at home. So you could keep Aubameyang for quite a while. Vardy's, I think, are a bit trickier, actually. Liverpool away, tough. Burnley at home's decent. Then it's Southampton away and Palace away. So good teams to play against. I'm not so sure if they're brilliant fixtures away from home. Then it's Arsenal at home, which is probably an okay fixture, actually, these days, given how Arsenal defend. So both fixtures are okay. In terms of underlying stats for the last 4 matches, shots in the box, Vardy's had 8, Aubameyang's had 9, which is pretty decent. But if you compare it to the likes of Aguero, who's had 17, Tammy Abraham's had 16, and Sterling's had 10. So obviously Sterling and Aguero are a bit more expensive. It just goes to show you that they're not necessarily top of the stats. But with Aubameyang and Vardy, when they get their chances, they do tend to put them away. And if people are looking at getting rid of Liverpool players, Salah's only had 2 big chances in the last 4 matches, whereas these two between them have had 7. So Vardy's had 3 and Aubameyang 4. But again, Chris Wood, Calvert-Lewin, Wilson and Abraham have all had more big chances than that. So I do think that these 2 are good options, but I think there's just so many cheap striker options that you could go for as well. It's maybe tough to spend the money when you're getting the likes of Son, De Bruyne, Sterling, Salah and Mane. So one of the questions is, should you go without Salah and Mane? Obviously the fixtures coming up are tough. It's really a hard one to answer because we know that premiums can score in any game. I've been bitten before. Will I take out Salah when he's got 3 out of 4 games against the top 6 and he absolutely smashes it? I think the key for me is that I'm probably not going to captain Salah, who I own, over the next kind of 4 or 5 game weeks. So that makes me a little bit more, maybe not positive, but kind of, it's maybe a move that I would make because of that. And then I could maybe downgrade the funds, bring in Son, then I've got funds to spend up front. So maybe that's how I get Vardy in. But right now for me, when I look at the top scorers, yes, Vardy's doing well. But again, Pukki, Wilson, Abraham, Firmino, all ahead of him on points. For most of them, we don't expect that to kind of stop anytime soon. So, well, I like both these options, and I can see why people are bringing them in, especially Aubameyang. If you're going to captain him, then maybe that's a great option. I just think there's other cheaper strikers, so I'm kind of keeping my forward line quite cheap for now, keeping the money in midfield and seeing how it goes. But if you want to go for them, they're in good form, they've got good fixtures, now might be the right time. So with captaincy, I still don't like to overthink it too much. I'm not going to go too stats heavy on this. And obviously, I've already read out some stats about big chances for Salah and how many shots in the box the likes of Aguero and Sterling are having. So these are kind of probably the main options. You've got Salah Mane versus Leicester at home, Sterling De Bruyne if he's fit, and Aguero versus Wolves at home, Brighton versus Spurs, so obviously Son and Kane away, and then Norwich versus Villa. Maybe you could go back for Pukki. So looking at those, I think Pukki is an interesting one because obviously he was so popular at the start of the season. You could have captained him every game for the first few, but kind of dried up a bit. But a lot of his kind of poor returns or blanks have been away. And this is a home game against Villa. Villa giving up quite a few chances. So I like this fixture for Pukki. Would I captain him? I'm not so sure, given that he's blanked, I think, 3 in the last 4 games. So that would put me off a bit. And it almost feels like this is last chance saloon for him. But as a little bit of a differential, I do think it's a good option this week. I think Norwich at home going to perform much better than away. Brighton versus Spurs. I think Son and Kane, especially Son, are good options this week against Brighton. But I don't think Brighton are pushovers. And it's hard to justify going for one of the Spurs players when Man City and Liverpool are both at home. So that's what would put me off. I like the idea of bringing in Son for this fixture, maybe for the couple of fixtures coming up as well. And I like him as a captain in game week 9. I'm just not sure about this week. I think away from home, there's probably better options. So Man City and Liverpool are definitely the standouts. As I said, Salah's only had 2 big chances in the last 4. And Leicester have been defending pretty well. They've not given up too many chances. So that will be a tough fixture. But it is at home at Anfield. So I fully expect Mane and Salah to be in the points. It's just how high their ceiling is against Leicester. I don't expect Leicester to be a team that's going to get walked over. So will Liverpool put maybe more than 3? Probably not. So you're looking at maybe a 2 or 3 goal kind of scored by Liverpool, which could be a good return for either Salah or Mane. So I don't think they're bad options this week. I think Mane probably, given his home form, might be the one to go for if you own him. Otherwise, it's got to be Man City again. And I feel like, I know we say this every week, but they are probably the best attacking team in the league. I don't think many people would argue with that. And Wolves have been so hit or miss. They're giving up more chances than they did last year, and that's obviously a worry for them. Man City at home are always going to score goals, and they're just going to keep coming at you and at you. So I think Wolves did pretty well against them last year. I remember, I think one of the games was 1-1. But I expect Man City to do better this year, whether De Bruyne is out or not. I think De Bruyne definitely, unless Pep says he's absolutely fit to start, and even if he does say that, I'm just not sure they would risk him. I think that probably counts him out as a captain option. So you've got Aguero versus Sterling. Aguero owners may be a little bit worried because he didn't play last week with a knot, then he's played Champions League. I personally wouldn't be worried about that. I think he's played in the Champions League to basically get some minutes under his belt, then play against Wolves, and then maybe have a little bit of a break over the international break. So I wouldn't be worried if you're a Aguero owner. I do think perhaps Sterling, who hasn't started the Champions League game, is maybe the better option this week. Scored last week and should have scored another one. It was a poor finish, but you'd hope on another day he would score that. So I think, again, it's between Sterling and Aguero this week. I've gone for Aguero last week. I think it's got to be Sterling this week. He's my favourite captain option. I do think there's options in the other games. I think it's almost similar to last week where there wasn't a massive standout. I still don't think it's the same this week, but for me, it's got to be Sterling or Aguero, and I'm going to go Sterling this week. Just a few other bits to finish off quickly that people asked me about. So one person said yay or nay to Molenko, so that's Yarmolenko at West Ham. Personally, I think at that kind of price bracket, he's one of the best options right now. His underlying stats are pretty good. When I bought him in last week, I kind of compared him to Lamella, Daniel James, and McGinn. Obviously, McGinn did score as well. And the one thing with McGinn is, if you bought him in last week, he had 3 good fixtures. Obviously, if you bring him in this week, he's only got 2, and then 2 tough ones. Whereas Yarmolenko over the next 4 has the slightly better fixtures, has the better underlying stats. I think he scored 3 and 4 now. So for me, I actually prefer Yarmolenko to McGinn. I think McGinn's a great option, don't get me wrong. I just think right now, if I was still picking between the two, I would go Yarmolenko. So I think he's a yay. I don't see him losing his place anytime soon. He's scoring goals. What's not to like? He's only 6 million as well. Wildcard before the international break. It's an interesting question because my initial instinct was to say no, absolutely shouldn't wildcard before an international break. But at the end of the day, if you need to wildcard, you should use it when you need to. If it's kind of, I'm not too sure, I don't really need it, then I would probably wait. International break, maybe injuries happen and you want a wildcard, catch some price rises, whatever. I think one thing to say is, getting massive price rises over the international break is definitely a myth now. It used to happen, it doesn't anymore. So don't wildcard based on that. But wildcarding before the international break, I think it's fine if you need to do it, if you absolutely need to. If you're kind of 50-50, I'd maybe wait. But I do think international breaks are overblown. I know they're going to play a lot of players are going to play 1 or 2 games and could get injured. But a player could get injured any game in the Premier League. You don't stop to not bring a player in case he gets injured over the next 2 games. So I get the idea because they're not playing in the league. And if you bring someone in and then they get injured, it's frustrating. But I would have to consider myself unlucky if I wildcarded, bought in a bunch of players, and 2 or 3 or 4 of them got injured and I was absolutely stuck. I just don't see that happening. So if you absolutely need to use your wildcard, do. If you're 50-50, I'd maybe just hold on another week and use it over the international break. Fabianski injury is obviously a massive blow to West Ham. I've got Diop in my team. I'm probably going to play him this week. But if I had to pick again, now I know that Fabianski is probably going to be out for maybe a couple of months. We're still waiting for a definite news on that, but it sounds like it's going to be a couple of months. I'd probably not go for West Ham defenders. I think he's so integral to that defence. He's such a good shot stopper. He's going to be the one that helps them to clean sheets. So that would be a worry for me. So if you've got West Ham assets, maybe give them a couple of games and see how they get on without Fabianski. But it's definitely a worry. And then someone else asked me, can Chelsea now defend or was it just Brighton? Look, I think Brighton definitely helped, but the man on your screen, Kante, is now back, looks fully fit again. And he's definitely going to be a help. And I know I've been saying this for ages, but Rudiger hopefully will be back soon as well. And once those 2 are in the team, you would expect Chelsea to defend better. And I think, to be fair, they look quite good against Liverpool. I know they conceded 2 goals, but they look quite assured at the back. And, in another time, if they played Liverpool earlier in the season, I would have expected Liverpool to score more. But they kept them to 2 goals. They defended pretty well against Brighton as well, and they've got good fixtures, so I think it's a good option. Tomori's only, I think, 4.6 million. That's who I've got in my team. Looks great value, possibly even kind of second choice just behind Rudiger, so should start most games. So I think Chelsea can defend. I think Kante's a big help for that. Are they going to get the best defensive record in the league from now until the end of the season? Absolutely not. But for the price their defenders are, I definitely think there's some good options there. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Do you have any counterpoints, different questions, or anything you want to bring up based on what I've said? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. Much appreciated as always. Subscribe if you're new around here. And hit that notification bell so you know when all the other videos are going up and when I'm live streaming, which should be 9 o'clock Thursday evening, to answer any other questions you've got and generally just chat about FPL. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you next time. Good luck in Game Week 8.